So Elizabeth and I, we took a flat in Warwick Road, London, facing Earl's Court, it was. And I managed to get a job with a firm called High Dominion Limited in Buckingham Palace Gate. A large house, one of the old posh houses, but it had been turned into offices. There were about 20 girl clerks there. I was a filing clerk, not much of a job. And Elizabeth got a job in Knightsbridge in a shoe shop. The money wasn't very good, and by the time we paid for the flat and the food and the travelling on the tube each day, there wasn't much left. Well, we managed to go into the gardens of the theatres now and again. We were there for a few months, and then this firm I was with, there was a subsidiary of Reynolds Tubings, who supply all the bicycles with tubing for the frames. But it was only a temporary job, and they were closing the London office down. And I remember the day, on the Wednesday, all the girls suddenly went to the window, and I wondered what the commotion was, and I looked out, and it was David Niven, the film star. He was getting married from just across the road. And there was no more work done by the girls that day because he threw them a kiss up at the window. The next day I got the sack because they were closing down. So I went back to the flat, Thursday it was, I went back to the flat in Warwick Road, and Mum was there in her overcoat. She hadn't got a shilling for the gas fire, and she was in tears. First time I'd seen her in tears. So I said, "What's wrong?" Oh, she said, I haven't told you before, but I've been feeling sick in the morning. And I've been to the doctor, and he's confirmed that I'm having a baby. And I must give up the job in the shoe shop. And that night, Mrs. Giddy, who was the landlady of there were a lot of flats in the big house it was, she called in, as she often did at night time, with cocoa, and we confided in her that Elizabeth was having this. Oh, she said, "Oh dear, oh dear." Oh, she said, "We can't have a baby crying here." She said, "All the rest of the house is let for businessmen, businesswomen. We can't have a child crying. I'm afraid you'll have to go somewhere else." So there we were, both of the out of a job, child coming along, and notice to quit. Now it's rather strange how things work out. The next day I went along to Vauxhall Bridge Road to the offices of YMCA Employment Agency. It was a long room, and they'd got these jobs posted up on the kind of a petition each side. And Betty and I were looking this side, and I heard two men talking the other side. And one said to her, he said, "I'd rather like the look of that one, 741. I think I'll try for it." So his pal said, "Well, for Christ's sake, don't tell me you're a bit of brigadier, they'll think you're too lofty for the job." So after they'd gone, I went round and looked at 741, and it was for a cellarman for Smith and Hoey, the wine merchants. So I said to Elizabeth, "I'll try for that," which I did. But the brigadier had pinned me to it. He got the job. But Smith and Hoey, they belonged to a firm called John Gardner and Sons. And when they knew I'd been with the Nafienza, they said, "Well, they're wanting a clerk in Leadenhall Market." So I went along and I got the job. Now this John Gardner, who I'd never heard of before, was a very big firm. They owned the Hatchett's restaurant, the Georgian Vulture. They had a holiday camp on the Isle of Wight. They did all the catering for the big firms all over the country. John Gardner got the catering for the Olympic Games of 1948 to feed 7,000 competitors all over the world. And they took the RAF camp at Uxbridge, and they made me the chief control clerk, and I was sent out there to live in the camp, about 9 weeks altogether. And my job was the food rationing was still on in 1948. For instance, they used to work, you could have 1/6 of an ounce of bacon per breakfast. But as there were 7,000 competitors, I worked it out, and I could order 14 sides of bacon. You had 2 ounces of sugar per person per week. But for 7,000 I could order a couple of tons of sugar, and that's how it went, you see. So Elizabeth flew down here and I moved to Uxbridge, so that took care of the accommodation. Now, the Americans, when they learned that the food rationing was on, they started to fly their goods in for their competitors. Steaks as thick as that, you've never seen anything like it in your life. Ice cream, flew it in daily, every day.